Welcome, everybody, to the Dual Threat Show. Todd Tramonte here with my buddy Jason Simard. And tell him hello, my friend.
What's up, guys?
We are in my super temporary office at the moment in my little cruddy corner. And we're still remodeling our new office. So next time, maybe we'll look a little bit better. But we've got a topic for the day. As you know, we throw out a topic. We discuss it to help sharpen each other and our teams and businesses and core businesses and coaching and all that stuff. And then obviously we share it with you in hopes that it's beneficial for you as well. So we're going to throw out paid marketing as a topic for the day. Paid marketing, advertising, lead gen, whatever you want to call it. Basically spending dollars to make dollars, spending money to make money. Everyone's heard kind of the cheesy saying, you got to spend money to make money. You got to have money to make money. My guess is we would both disagree with that, but certainly there are some benefits and you can accelerate things when you do spend some money. And I may be wrong. I may be speaking incorrectly for Mr. Simard. So we'll just kind of start there. What are your initial thoughts on the subject of paid marketing, paid advertising, paid lead gen, and where does it fit?
Well, okay. So, I started paying for marketing right when I started. So I'd be a hypocrite if I took your stance and said, well, nobody should ever do that because I didn't do it that way. I wanted to have an abundance of opportunities to come in so that I always was focused on things that would generate opportunities for me. And I felt confident. I was self-aware. I knew that my phone skills were one of my best assets that I had. And so for me in the beginning, having an abundance of Google AdWords leads and making that investment made sense to me. But I also had 2 years of really studying that world and knowing it closely. So, but to answer your question, I think for the average person, look, you have to have some money in the bank. If you don't have any money in the bank, and you're just struggling to just get going here, start working by referral, your sphere, your friends, your family, start developing some good habits there. Make sure that the people that know you and trust you already know that you're in the business. Make sure you're putting some connections out there. Do some of the things that don't cost a lot of money to get some momentum, build a pipeline. And then what I would suggest is maybe assign 10 to 20% of the commissions that you're making towards advertising and start putting that aside and build a pipeline. But there's a lot of ways you can build this business or get some really good momentum without spending a bunch of money. So that would be sort of my, quick little tip would be start smart. Don't spend a bunch of money where you're like so concerned you can't even make your payments to your broker the next month. Make sure you're meeting those, live very lean during that time and start hustling. So that'd be my quick, and we can get into some details there.
No, I think you dropped 5, 6, 7 really good nuggets there. So I'll comment on a few of those and then we'll keep volleying around. But I would not say, actually, might surprise you, I would not say that it's a bad idea to start with do paid marketing early on. What I would say, honestly, is I think it's dangerous to start this business without any savings, without a little cash, because you are starting a business. Name a business, any other business, where people are like, you know what, I'm going to quit my job, or I'm going to choose to go this direction as opposed to taking another job. And I'm going to build a business from the ground up, but I have no resources. I have no resources and I have no significant clear path to success. I'm just going to go wing it. And my family should depend on that, right? But people do that in real estate all the time. So I'm not anti spending money out of the gate. Now, I do think it's a bad idea to do what most agents do and just throw money at random stuff. So, hey, postcard campaign, website, pay-per-click, Facebook ads. We're going to make videos. I'm going to buy, shopping cart advertising. Like, none of those things are necessarily bad with the right plan. But most of those things will just burn money in the beginning if you're not also busting your tail. Now, what Jason said is I wanted to have an abundance of leads to follow up on because I knew my phone skills are one of my best assets. Okay, so he knew his phone skills were strong. That's a plan, right? I'm going to work my tail off on the phone. Now, that's not swinging a sledgehammer out in the hot sun. That's air-conditioned work with probably a beverage of choice, but that's still doing stuff you probably don't want to do over and over and over. So that's a plan to work hard. Now he said, I've got some cash. I'm going to make the leap and I'm going to go set myself up to use my best skill. That's not winging it. That's not just throwing money at stuff. And even if you don't have the money, if you're going to borrow money to get into business, you sure as heck better have a plan or something if you're going to go borrow money, right? And if you've heard Jason's story, you've heard how he got a little help to get going, and like within 10 minutes paid it back and then some, was crushing it. But the point is, I don't think it's a good idea to jump into the business and just throw money at big flashy advertising things, but it might be wise.
You can't buy your way to success. That's the one thing people need to understand. You can't buy your way to success. You have to have some fundamental solid skills built into your business. You have to have some phone skills. You have to have some people skills. If you can't have the skills to really convert the opportunities that you're talking to where you can build value and trust, this is going to be an extremely difficult business for anybody to do very well in. If you can't problem solve quickly, that can be a really big challenge in our business. As you know, it's very much about problem solving, being quick on your feet. If you're an introvert who never wants to put himself out there or talk to anybody, this could be a really hard business for you to build. So definitely there's ways that you can do it if you don't have any cash. So I'd say if you have, say, $50,000 or less that you're starting the business with, which would be most people, plan your first 6 months to live very lean. That means you might want to cut out going to Starbucks and doing a lot of the extras and really focus in on having a limited income that you live off of, and then really dial in your sphere of influence, work the people that you know in your life, make sure people know that you're in the real estate business. You can start doing things like open houses, talking to agents who maybe have leads that they're doing nothing with, work out a split with them, like get creative.
Yep.
Where you're not just throwing everything at the wall. Then, like we talked about, start putting a percentage of your savings away for marketing, and then we can slowly add things. So let's talk about that. So let's just say, Todd, I've done the right things. I get into the business and I'm getting a bit of momentum. Now I've got some deals, that I'm putting together, and I have a bit of a pipeline, and I want to start making an investment. In your opinion, where would be the best paid places to get a fairly quick return on investment or quicker return on investment if I'm going to do that? Because there's like 20 different places I could probably spend money that you'll have some influencer who'll tell you that they've crushed it and that you should do what they do. So in your opinion, what would be some of the areas that
couple quick thoughts? Number one, I love the fact that you're talking about set aside some of your revenue to do that, right? 10 to 20% is a really good range. I mean, some people will have different numbers, but that would apply to most people. Point is, once you get rolling and you're starting to think about reinvestment, make sure that it's a true reinvestment. These dollars are coming out of profit and revenue, and you can scale that long term, because you can. If you start that way and you never miss that money, you can grow it forever and ever and ever. And as your company grows, that same 10 to 20% will be huge, or will get bigger anyway. Number two, I do think it depends a little bit. Like Jason said, he's got a great skill set on the phone. Not everybody does. Now, I think everybody needs to be able to face the fact that you need to spend some time on the phone, even if that's not your wheelhouse. But if it's not your wheelhouse, maybe you're better face-to-face, and you should go do 3 or 4 open houses every single weekend. And you should spend some money on signs and a little bit of online advertising of your open houses, maybe some flyers, maybe some time knocking doors or door hangers or something like that. But like, kind of macro stereotype, like most people, I think one of the best ways to get a really good return on your dollar is to have a pretty solid templated IDX home search website, like a Real Geeks, or you could go all the way, to like a really expansive Commissions Inc. or Boomtown or something like that. But in the beginning, you could get a Real Geeks or Sierra Interactive or something like that. That's kind of a everything you need, but doesn't have a million distractions. I use Real Geeks. Jason uses Real Geeks. We're big fans, but there's all sorts of options. And then to spend a reasonable amount of money on someone to manage pay-per-click for you, unless you're one of the rare few who that's already got a high expertise there. Hire someone else to be an expert at that. You be an expert at selling real estate. And then find a reasonable budget to put towards paid targeted traffic every single month. And let me add one more thing. When I say paid targeted traffic, it is smart to target your ideal client, the right part of town, the right price point, the right property type. Now, in the beginning, you're not going to be able to be quite as selective as you may be down the road, but you should still be somewhat selective. You should still focus and niche. You don't want to be driving 50 miles to appointments because you're just not going to get as many appointments in. You don't want to be working with the wrong price point where you really don't have the expertise, where you can't really be profitable, or those properties don't sell very well. So I could give more details, but you probably get the point for the sake of today's conversation. I think pay-per-click is a good place. I prefer pay-per-click over Facebook. I would just kind of for a snapshot, in the beginning, I would not even touch radio, television, billboards, big mass media marketing until your 10 to 20% revenue gives you a really good, comfortable on-ramp to do that. And it's highly likely I would never touch that ever in the forever history of your business. But those are some nuggets there. What are you thinking, Jason?
Yeah, I agree. So when what Todd's talking about is Google AdWords, Bing AdWords, those are people that are specifically searching out real estate keyword terms in areas that you could target. And if you have the right type of website, you could actually drive some of that traffic to it, convert that at a high level. And we've built a business on how to convert those exceptionally well. We also have some amazing coaching materials that we can provide you. So if you're interested in learning how to do that, we're happy to help in that front. But I would say that's a great place to start. That's where I started. So when I started in the business, I teamed up with somebody who had a whole bunch of internet leads that was doing nothing with them. And I just said, look, I'll do a 50-50 split with you. Just let me work those leads. While I was doing that, I ramped up my website. I started doing my own lead generation, but at least she had a whole database. She probably had 500-600 leads that were not doing, she'd done nothing with.
Yep.
And then I was able to just pick off tons of really great opportunities, built a nice pipeline. Yeah, I had to pay 50% on them, but it didn't matter because it gave me opportunities that I wouldn't have had otherwise.
Yep.
And then after about 40 days of doing that, I had enough lead generation coming in from my own efforts that I was able to say, hey, thank you very much. But I was able to give this person a very, very, very lucrative return on her investment because I actually worked the leads. See, the thing is too, is if you're going to go down that path, you have to understand that it's a long-term game as well, which means you have to be prepared to have multi-touches in there. You have to be persistent. You have to be able to play the long game. I think the conversion that we've noticed is about 6 to 8 attempts before you can actually move that towards a physical appointment. Our contact rate, so we've been testing some things in the lab with our inside sales agent team, Todd, on 50 leads in the last week that had signed up that had real information. We only had 4 that we weren't able to contact.
Wow.
Like our numbers are
within
we're getting exceptionally good.
Yeah.
We're getting exceptionally good at getting really good contact with people. And our conversion rate is been hovering around 3%. I believe with the things that we've been tweaking, and we call it the lab because we've been working on it, we're constantly trying to be better. We think we're going to be able to break 4% this year, which,
and by the way,
is huge.
If you're watching and you've heard other people talk about this, that number is at the very high end, right? Anybody telling you they're converting 6, 7, 8, 9% of their internet leads, A, is full of bull, or B, just tracks their numbers very liberally and differently. Now, the reality is it doesn't really matter if you say 6 or 8 and I say 2 or 3, as long as you consistently use that same metric to improve it and to keep an eye on it, it doesn't matter that much. But I think a true conversion rate of anything over 2 is good. Is really good. When you start getting in the 3 and creeping up on 4, I mean, you're talking about doubling your return with no additional lead cost whatsoever, right? And for most people, you can be profitable at a 1% conversion rate on say an AdWord, Bing or Google generated AdWord, pay per click, to a home search conversion site like a Real Geeks, and an agent or an inside salesperson who's reasonably well compensated, working that deal and then going out and transacting it anywhere in a relatively average range of commission. You can be profitable in and around 1% conversion. So if you're at 2, you can be significantly profitable. If you can get to 3 or 4, you could literally more than double your profitability because your cost hasn't gone up at all. And I think there's a ton of people just out there saying, I'm going to spend more money to get more leads, when you should be in the lab like Jason and his team, or like we're doing the same stuff here. I mean, not the same stuff, but the same goal to increase conversion as opposed to just more leads all the time. And that's a huge takeaway. We've done dual threat shows before where we talked about really cheap ways to get your business going. So that we've had some of these conversations about, partnering with someone else with their leads and things. So we don't need to go deep into that, but just this idea of When's a good time to spend money on leads? Well, we've established if you've got the money, it's okay to do that right away. If you don't, you ought to be careful getting into the business at all, but you should start out with low cost stuff like open houses, expireds, for sale by owners, your personal sphere of influence, networking, door knocking, those things that you put your blood, sweat, and tears and hustle into, and don't spend a bunch of money. Then set aside whatever number makes sense to you, 10 to 20%. You know, a lot of marketing and advertising books are going to say 10% for marketing. In the beginning, I'd love to encourage you to push that to 20 so that you can accelerate your reinvestment, accelerate your growth. And then the question can be, where do I spend that? And I would say, you know, run that up against where your gifts and your abilities are most likely to lead to conversion. But everybody needs to spend time calling, texting, and emailing. But some of you are going to lean more towards in-face home, you know, open house networking type stuff. Others are more systematic and will pound the phones for more. But that, I would say that's sort of the summary of what we're talking about so far. But if you were going to add another nugget, I think Jason just added it, you know, focus a little bit more on converting what you've got versus always adding more. In the beginning, more is better, but anything to add to that?
Yeah, here's what I'm going to say. Get very, very, very good at having conversations about the importance of referrals in your business with the people that you're working with. And I can give you a little bit of scripting. And I think I picked up part of this from Todd, believe it or not. So I'm sure Todd will be able to add to it.
Believe it or not.
Well, no, he teaches me a lot and we help each other a lot. So, you know, but it's brilliant if you think about this, okay? If every single client that you work with, in your mind, your goal is you want to provide them such great value and service that they would feel compelled to introduce you to a friend or family member before you even transact with them. And I'll explain the science behind this, and then I'll let Todd take it to a whole new level because this is something that I picked up from him, and it's brilliant and it works exceptionally well. If you had these conversations with people before you're out looking at houses, as part of your consultation, you're planting the seeds. So here's the deal. Most people wait to ask for referrals after they've transacted. And that's the time where the person's no longer thinking real estate. They're no longer having real estate conversations because that's behind them now. Yep. The time where they're going to be talking about real estate with their friends and family is when they're transacting with you, because that's when they're talking about houses they're looking for, and all their friends and family are asking, how's it going? Then all of a sudden they start sharing their plans around real estate. So your goal is you want to position yourself as the person that they'd want to feel compelled to refer to. So maybe Todd, I'll let you take it to a whole nother level now and explain some value there. But I think there's a nugget there that we can give people that are listening today, that if they can just implement that, they can learn to work smarter, not harder, which will give them more momentum without spending any extra money. So go ahead, Todd.
Right. No, you did a great job on that scripting. I'll add a couple quick things though. If you think about paid advertising only as a way to accelerate your relationship building, right? So in the natural flow of my life, let's just say I create one new relationship a week. You know, I bump into someone, I make it a friend of a friend, becomes a friend, you know, whatever. But if I started to pay for some leads and hustle those leads and convert them, I might create 2 more relationships every week. Now I've created 3. Great. Well, that's the paid marketing strategy. It's just to get more people into my world faster. Once they're in my world, what Jason's talking about is the goal. Maybe they came into my world at the level of like a grade C, and I want to turn them from a C to a B and a B to an A, and eventually from an A to an A plus. And an A plus, you know, does business or refers me business at least one time every single year, you know, and then you can kind of grade people otherwise. But the point is, if you've done that well, the script Jason was using, which we both use, is, you know, basically, hey, my goal is to deliver such unbelievable, phenomenal, world-class value to you that you're going to want to climb up on the roof of your house and shout to your neighbors that they'd be crazy not to work with our team or me forever and ever and ever. And I want to be measured against that, right? So I know that's a little bit presumptuous, but I'm happy to be held to that standard. And I'll know I've done a great job when you're introducing me to your friends and your family. And if that's not happening, I hope you'll understand if I ask you, hey, is there anything I could have done better? Because, you know, kind of my measuring stick is if you're introducing me to people. So you anchor that pretty hard. You do it respectfully and appropriately. And then later when you just say, hey, you know, just checking in, has anybody come to mind that you feel like would benefit from the level of energy and effort and service that my team and I provide, you know, when you bought or when you sold? Yeah. You know, no one's come to mind. That's fine. I totally respect that. I just want to make sure that isn't because we didn't do a great job. No, it has nothing to do with that. You guys are wonderful. Okay, great. I just want to make sure. There's a ton of good value in there. But if you can categorize paid marketing or advertising solely, all of that is to do is to accelerate the rate that I build really great relationships, then your business will just explode into a flame, a good flame, right? A flame of deep value, trusted relationships where people really want to introduce you. It's not like, yeah, man, I'll write you a review, whatever, stop asking. It's like, holy crap, Jason was incredible. Everyone I talked to at his office was amazing. I think I actually had a good time selling my house and buying, and I know I've got some extra cash out of the deal. So if I hear someone at Starbucks talking about real estate, I'm not annoyed by it. I feel like I want to get up and interrupt their conversation and be like, look, I know you don't know who I am, but I heard you guys talking about buying. And if it would help, I would love to introduce you to Todd Tramonte. He's like the best real estate agent I've ever met in my life, works as a team, not normal at all. We've had several incredible experiences with him. Could I give you could I have him reach out to you? Would that work? Would that be okay? That's a level of advocacy that comes when your mentality is to build deep, valuable relationships. And paid advertising is just intended to accelerate the rate that you do that. And if you do that, that becomes your job every day, is to build great relationships, not to twist the arms of strangers all day long. So hopefully that helps.
I love it. And the common thing that every successful agent that I've seen for the most part has systems that when a new client becomes a client, they have follow-up systems in play and things that deepen the relationship and that'll keep them going. So like Todd said, paid advertising is just a great way to meet new strangers and turn them into clients and advocates. And they're all on the same level. I mean, an internet lead might be colder in the beginning when you're talking to them because there's no rapport and trust yet. But once you develop that and you move it forwards towards them being a client, it's just like any other type of business that you have. And then it's a key is to running your systems. I'll end on one last little nugget that might help somebody. And that's the goal of the show is when you're talking to your friends and your family and you're trying to get your business going, ask the question, Todd, who do you know that I should know? Mm-hmm. Who do you know that I should know? Simple as that. Let's not overcomplicate it, but just talk to people, get them to rally behind you and introduce you to people. And then you build relationships with some new people. That's a great way to find, hey, who do you know that I should know? And then people are what they're going to start doing is, hey, you know what? I've got this thing that's going on this weekend. I'm going to invite you out. Why don't you come out with us?
Yep.
And then all of a sudden you're being introduced to some new people that you never knew before. And part of real estate is the reality of it is people go with people that they know and trust often. So you do have to build your circle up if you want to have more opportunities. Now, this isn't about being that cheesy guy that's always, hey, if you're buying or selling, call me. It's not about that, but you do have to have genuine connections with people, which might just stand you out from anybody else they would call if a need came up for real estate. And people are going to ask you, what do you do? Well, I help have a really good response. I help people outperform the real estate market. I help people make really great buying decisions by helping them get homes at market value or better. Something, whatever your thing is, but focus on what it is that you do. And assume the question is that they're asking you is, how do you do an exceptional job at what you do? And they're asking you that question.
What's unique about what you do?
Yeah, what's unique about
your
what you do?
Your answer is realtor. That's the least unique answer on earth. Literally, like more than 1% of the adult population has a real estate license. That does not distinguish you at all. Great. Now, I think that was a great wrap up. We'll leave it at that. Awesome. Appreciate you guys tuning in. Make sure you subscribe to the show if it's good. That lets us know people care, and then we'll keep making them. Like it, share it. If you're interested in coaching or consulting, both Jason and I both offer those kind of deals. So depending on what you like, reach out to one or both of us, and we'd be happy to kind of figure out what's best for you and how to help. We both have some free resources and some paid resources, and we'd love to tell you about that or get you connected with someone on our teams to tell you about that. Check out the other episodes, though. We've been doing this for a while, so there's a bunch of them out there to take advantage of. Comment on those things. Let us know. We'll always do what we can to help you out, or maybe that will trigger a future episode, and we'll cover a topic that would be really helpful to you. So appreciate your time. For Jason and myself, we'll see you guys on the next one. Over and out.
All right. Thanks, guys.